Hello and welcome back to Radio 2. This is lecture 15, also known as part 4 of 6 of voice and performance. Okay. Before we go any further, I quickly want to play you a radio clip of the 5 Drive with Nick Hammond on 5FM.
Cape Town against Durban against Gauteng. Now, 2 of these 3 cities still do not have their pizza this afternoon, but there can only be one winner. He's on the line representing Cape Town in Stellenbosch. Dumisani, congratulations.
Yay.
Hey, man, did you think today when we said we're looking for somebody who's just wants a better afternoon that this is how it would turn out?
No, I had no idea. I thought it was going to just be thrown into one of those quiz pop questions.
Yeah, exactly. Don't you find that radio stations, and I'm sure I do this too, but do that a lot, where it's like, hey, man, wouldn't you just like to randomly give 5 minutes of your time to make content for somebody else? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the pub quiz is up next. Hey, by the way, what we need to do this afternoon is congratulate you on behalf of everybody at your workplace as well. I believe one of your colleagues, Luke, is helping you chow the pizza.
Yeah. And we're actually down to the pizza now. It's finished.
Lekker, man. Hey, how's Stellies, by the way? It's my old stomping ground. I really miss the place.
It's really cool. It's actually raining. It's raining today. Yeah, it's just chilled. It's a chilled, lekker place.
Who do you think, by the way, Dumisani, out of the 2 cities, Levi in Durban and Michaela in Gauteng, came second and third?
I think Durban will come second.
Durban did not come second. Gauteng did. Here's Michaela.
Hey, it's Michaela from Edengen in Joburg. Thank you to 5FM and Debonair's for the pizza. And yeah, I'm not sharing with anybody.
Amazing. And then third place this afternoon in Durban, it was indeed Levi.
Hey, the easy East Coast for the win, guys. So I'm about to jump onto the sports field quickly. Now me and the boys got a pizza to share. Drink some fans. Thank you so much, guys.
At the end of the day, pizza is the real winner. Dumisani, congratulations once again, sir.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Have a lekker afternoon. This will not be the last time that we do this. So if we left out your city today, you need to let Mad Money Mike know. Pizza races will become a thing on 5 Drive.
Can I get a hiya for the 5 Drive team?
Hiya!
Regular programming will convene next as we enter into the earliest pub quiz ever. Hold on.
I do a 1, 2 step, 2 step. I do a 1.
So that was just a random link that I found for them. When you listen to that, did you pick up anything from the previous classes that we spoke about? Perhaps with regards to an intro and outro and things like that, or anything else that we've mentioned? Anything from performance and formatics at all? I would hope so, because there was quite a few things in there that I picked up. So I'm hoping that you're starting to pick that up too. Getting into today's lesson, today we're looking at chapter 2 in Beyond Powerful Radio, from page 9 to 12. So again, not a lot of pages that we're looking at, but very important content, okay? Are you a generator or a reactor? Before we start, what do you think a generator and a reactor is? What do you think that means when I say those words? A generator and a reactor. The easiest way to remember this might be that a generator generates and a reactor reacts, okay? Have you ever noticed that some personalities are pretty boring when left on their own? But the minute that they're joined by someone else in studio, it's like they come alive and they just sound so much better on air. Some personalities might seem more talented when they're performing live in front of an audience, and others are funnier or sharper and more creative by themselves. So it turns out that most of us, not all of us, most of us fall into one of two categories, okay, on one side or the other side. You're either a generator or a reactor. You do get the odd person that can be both, that can be a generator and a reactor. But mostly you'll be one or the other. So I mentioned the word generator and reactor. But what is a generator? But what is a generator and what is a reactor? If we start with a generator, this is someone that can easily work alone or as part of a team. They can visualize original ideas. They have a strong independent imagination and they can come up with many topics, okay? A true generator is rare and can be the life of a party, okay? It's like something special happens when a generator walks in the door. Think about parties where you've been to, where someone kind of just sticks out completely and everyone's attention is just around this person, and this person is able to tell stories in such a way to just grab everyone's attention the whole time without anyone else jumping in and responding and reacting to it. That person is a generator. And before you start thinking that's you in a nutshell, it might be, but chances are bigger that you might be a reactor. Reactors are also creative individuals. A reactive talent takes existing ideas and comes up with numerous ways to make them better or more workable. Definitely no less talented than a generator. So before you think it's better to be a generator, definitely not the case. But the reactor has a very different style to a generator. A reactor alone faces a blank page. A reactor on their own might struggle with a blank page. However, the moment a reactor comes in contact with a generator, he or she can instantly and very cleverly pick up on remarks, comments, or nuances, and can be very funny. A reactor is normally the one who responds to just about any stimulus with an insightful or a witty remark. Reactors can have a lot of fun talking back to their TV and their radio sets. If you've ever listened to a talk show and thought that it might have had a slow start, but then picked up as soon as the interview or the calls began, you were probably listening to a reactor. A very good example of a reactor is Bongani Bingwa from 702. He's an extremely talented reactor. So you would hear if you listen to his show that there are always a lot of calls and that he always has very interactive conversations with these people because he's such a good reactor. A lot of the stand-up comedians are reactors. Although they might seem like generators, because they're pretty much standing and doing a monologue in front of a whole crowd, in front of a whole live audience, the fact is that those guys are really good with energy and with reading people. And if you put them in a room alone, they might be less interesting, okay? Reactors work best with other people in the room to spark their creative energy. Both of these, so generators and reactors, are valuable and good, but the right casting here is what's key, okay? And there is actually a difference. Forcing Forcing a reactor to carry a show like a generator is just not going to work. You're setting that person up for failure. And at the same time, forcing a strong generator, and at the same time, forcing a strong generator into an equal or a subordinate partnership with another generative talent can lead to on-air clashes. The trick here is to be able to identify each person's specific strengths and then to encourage the person to develop those strengths. Something that won't be good, for instance, putting two generators together as co-hosts or as a team can sometimes be disastrous. They tend to battle for the microphones, and there'll be those people who will try and talk over each other the whole time and who will compete for attention. It's pretty much, so imagine two kids fighting at the dinner table. It's hard to listen to for very long. The other side of it, if we flip the coin, putting two reactors together is not much better. The audience hears them trying to find ideas over and over again. This might be a very boring show and sound like it's quite weak and all over the place. Where the amazing connection comes in is if you can team these two up together. So in essence, when you have a balance of the elements. How do you tell the difference between a reactor and a generator? It's fairly simple. Generators have a lot of ideas and energy. They take huge risks and they worry about it later. They have moments of brilliance. They're the people who can sit alone in a room with their minds overflowing with ideas. Keeping this in mind, it's not to say that every idea that a generator produces is a perfectly conceived show. But consistently, they seem to be practically exploding with new material. So it might not all be usable, but they'll come up with new ideas the whole time. If we look at reactive talent on the other side, you'll notice that he or she is quick with a story or a memory or an imitation or a line for any topic you would give him or her. The trick here, though, is that you need to lead a reactor by giving that first push, that suggestion or that good opening. If you leave a reactor in a room alone with no external catalyst for the show, that person would be quite miserable. So reactors may do brilliant interviews or pick up things out of the newspaper that are unique, but they do need some kind of initial stimulus to get going. Again, you might have a reactor on air if the personality might seem dull to you until someone else walks into the studio, whether it's the news person or the weather person or whether there's a phone call, etc. Most people are reactors, okay? That's just a fact. Generators are very scarce. It's a little like being either left or right-handed. One is no better than the other. If absolutely necessary, right-handed people can adapt. If it's absolutely necessary, right-handed people can adapt to use their left hands and vice versa. And it's the same case here. You can certainly try and force someone to improve in the area where they are weaker. But in most circumstances, it's just better for the station to take the advantage of their natural inclinations. To take advantage of their natural inclinations. There's been many shows that I've listened to in the past where you can hear the combinations of either two generators or two reactors together on the show. And it normally isn't very long before those two presenters are split. And unfortunately, that's where management is supposed to come in, okay? So management is supposed to pick up whether someone is a generator or a reactor to know where to put them on air. So based on earlier exercises and theories that we've spoken of, do you believe you're a generator, or do you believe you're a reactor, or do you think you're a combination of both, and why? Obviously, this isn't something I can answer for you. I don't know you well enough yet. But think of it. I'd like to know, do you think you're a generator or a reactor? Taking into consideration the link I played you from Nick Hammond, think about your favorite shows, the shows you like listening to. Do you think those personalities are generators or reactors? Just an FYI, you might think that it takes a generator to host a morning show, but that's not the case. The one example I already gave you was Bongani Bingwa. Who is a reactor. And then there's another one in your book on page 12. One reactor found a cast of generators in his listening audience. Using interactive media, he continues to add appropriate players as they appear. He now has a winning show with lots of generators to show off his reactive talents. So what he did is he literally assembled his own generator reactor team. So you don't need to be the one, so you can technically be either and still be the host of a show. The reality is that creating content is far more difficult than reacting to content. So any method that can help us is a good method to learn. Chris Jordan created such a method called the spin method, which is in his reader, A Word on Radio, and which is something we'll briefly discuss. So the spin method starts with the S, which is the self. And this refers to being true to oneself. Not in the self-help way, but rather in the way that says the way you come into radio is the way you should always leave. As I've mentioned before, if a presenter tries to model him or herself to some other person's personality or style or on-air antics, you're going to fall short in your career very quickly, okay? Don't underestimate your listener. A listener will be able to sense whether the person they are hearing on the other side is authentic or not. And if people don't respond to who it is that you present to them, then on-air might not be for you. Luckily, there are multiple other avenues then. The next one is personality, okay? P for personality. If you don't have personality in radio, you may as well stand in the middle of a shopping mall and announce item specials on a Saturday morning to passing shoppers. And as I've mentioned before, if you think you're going to get that personality from not living your life, that's also not going to happen, okay? So you need to live a full life in order to have experiences, in order to have something to share. Becoming an on-air personality can also be seen as a calling. You can be as articulate and as well-spoken. You can be an extremely articulate and well-spoken individual, but without personality, longevity in radio is not an option. The next one is the I. It's important that you put all of yourself in what you do on air, regardless of what happens. Whether it's a piece of content that you've come up with, or a station promotion, you are selling to listeners, you need to sound investment in your on-air product at all times. Because if you don't sound invested, why on earth would your listeners sound invested or be invested? Believability is the key to any successful presenter's career. A good example here is, once again, the music that you play. So if you berate a song that you just played on air, the listener at home is not going to know that you didn't choose it. They're going to think you're stupid, because why on earth are you criticizing a song that you just chose? Or worse, they might love the song and then like you even less because you berated a song that they liked, okay? So you always need to be 100% fully invested in anything that happens on air. The last one here is N, which is all about organic personality. So it's about being natural. Always try to be as natural a personality. Always try to be yourself when it comes to on air, okay? As we've mentioned before and in previous classes, be as natural on air as you would be in person when someone meets you. Think about the radio personalities that you've met so far. Are they different in real life versus what they sound like on air? Most probably not, especially not if they're well known. Everything that we've been going through in these last couple of lectures is all to make you the best on-air personality that you possibly can be. And this includes the SPIN methodology, which focuses on 4 main areas that will help broadcasters put their best radio cap on while they're on air. So this is of the utmost importance. It's of the utmost importance to understand and to put into practice from the very beginning. Who you come into as in the radio industry is who you need to go out as. What I want you to do now is to answer a couple of interpretive questions. What I want you to do now is to answer a couple of interpretive questions. So this is all about you, okay? So this is all about you, okay? Briefly describe your personality. In other words, if I were to ask you, tell me about yourself, what would your answer be? Then I want you to name 5 skills that you think you need to bring to the table as a professional broadcaster, and explain why they are necessary in you doing your job properly, okay? So 5 skills that you think you need to bring to the table as a professional broadcaster, and explain why they are necessary for you to be able to do your job properly. And then what I want you to do is to use the answer that you gave to the question, tell me about yourself, and apply the SPIN methodology to your personality and characterize yourself according to each of the methodology's core aspects. So in terms of the self, personality, being invested and natural. In summary, to coach and develop talent effectively, it helps to identify the talent strengths and natural abilities. Knowing the type of performance you are working with, lets you guide them towards their maximum performance, okay? Helps you to get the best possible personality out of them that they can possibly give you. There are two classifications of talent. Personality types, which is a generator, and they are generator and reactor. The natural skill of the generator is that a generator can quickly work alone or as part of a team. Reactors are also creative and take existing ideas and come up with numerous ways to make them better or more workable. Mismatched combinations of generators and reactors can have disastrous consequences. Think about two magnets. If you don't put them polar opposites, if you try and put two magnets against each other without their polar opposites, they're not going to go against each other, okay? But on the other hand, electric connections occur when electric connections occur with the audience when you have a balance of both elements. So if you put a generator and a reactor together, the generator will come up with the idea and the reactor will take that idea and run with it, okay? And you can have a golden show. What I want you to do for homework is I want you to make sure that you've read chapter 2. So only page 9 to 12, okay? Then I want you to listen to your top 3 favorite radio stations during the drive time. So it could be either the morning or the afternoon. Cite 3 examples and list the personalities by name, indicating when you listened, whether it was in the morning or afternoon. Then let me know, do you think these personalities are generators or reactors, and why? What you're going to do for me then is to compile all this information and your supporting arguments, obviously, into a Word document and send it to me for open discussions of findings in the next class, okay? In our voice and performance modules, we have now covered voices and delivery and gone through a lot of different tips about the fact that your voice specifically, that a lot of different tips with regards to your voice and with regards to you not needing a great voice, but you need something to say, okay? And we've given you a lot of different techniques on how to care and look after your voice. Then we've gone into more detail with regards to performance and formatics. We've spoken about theater of the mind. And we've given you the tools to be able to understand the elements of a radio show and performing on radio, to demonstrate and understand the confines of radio formatics and why structure might be necessary. And you should now be able to write a script following station formatics. And you should now be able to write a script following station formatics. And then lastly, in the lesson that we just did now, you should now be able to identify whether a personality is a reactor or a generator and understand why they are one of the two. Okay, and that brings us to the end of this lesson. In the next lesson, we will continue with generators and reactors. And with that, I say goodbye for now.